Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Tax Tip Tuesday. I am Amanda Kendall with True Resolve Tax. Coming to you today, I want to talk to you for a few minutes about what to do if you haven't filed tax returns in several years. Pardon me. Working in tax resolution, I come across this situation pretty often. So the first thing I want to tell you if you find yourself in this situation is that you're not alone. And don't feel like you're the only person in the entire world that hasn't filed your taxes in a couple years, because there are several people out there that fall into this situation for one reason or another. More often than not, we see it because they don't understand how to file and they don't feel like they have adequate help to get them caught up. Once they're behind or delinquent for more than a year or two, they feel like they're getting shamed if they walk into a tax office and tell someone that they haven't filed in a couple years. And we also see reasons that are well beyond their control. Natural disasters have destroyed records and you don't have access to anything. Death in the family, severe illness. There is a lot of things in our lives that can take us away from the day-to-day being conscious of deadlines and what's going on. There's several times I talked to a taxpayer that something severe has happened and it just ran the course of a couple of years and life in general got away from them. It wasn't just their taxes. But if you haven't filed in a couple of years, there's a couple things that I want you to be aware of. The first thing is if you start getting letters from the IRS, you want to make sure that you're opening those, reading those, and addressing exactly what they are. If you don't file and the IRS thinks that you're going to owe on your taxes, they can file what's called a substitute tax return for you. This is commonly referred to as an SFR. It's a substitute for return. What this is the IRS takes the income that's been reported to you, whether that's W-2s, retirement distributions, Social Security income, self-employment income, unemployment, whatever those sources of income are that have been reported to the IRS. They look at those and they're going to file a tax return for you using that information as single with no dependents. No deductions. Like the only thing you're going to get is the standard deduction for that year. So if you are married with children, if you're head of household with children, if you're just married with no children, this oftentimes is not a beneficial tax return status for you. So you always want to pay attention to the letters coming from the IRS to see, are they just asking for my return? Do I still have time to file this myself, or have they already filed it for me and I need to get in and replace it with a correct return? Oftentimes, if the IRS is filing a substitute return for you, it's because you're going to owe based on their filing. And so that then triggers things like tax liens and tax collection and potential levies and items like that. So you want to make sure that you're addressing this sooner rather than later. If your records are an issue for you, then I also want you to know that that information can be obtained from the IRS. So as of recently, the IRS has started redacting some of this transcript information. So to get those full records may require you to actually get on the phone with the IRS or with someone from my office or with your tax professional to request that the IRS send you unredacted copies by mail, because they will only send them directly to the taxpayer now. And so you'll have to request those and then provide those over once you've received those. That's the only way to get unredacted copies. Otherwise, the copies I'm going to get moving forward, if I request them, are going to have the employer information, the EIN, and oftentimes your name, address, and Social Security number redacted. So it's very hard to match that up with your records to see exactly what is missing. And when we do find something missing based on dollar amounts not matching, knowing exactly where that's coming from. So getting those unredacted copies is very important in that situation. Once we have the income records and we're confident that we're ready to file a return, we can get these filed. So a couple deadlines that you want to be aware of here. The first one is a refund statute date. So the IRS is only going to issue refunds for the most recent 3 tax years. So if you have not filed because you think, okay, they are going to owe me, so I'm not worried about it, and you haven't filed in the last 3 years, it's time to get moving on that now so that you can get those refunds. Because once you pass that 3-year mark, the IRS isn't going to issue that refund to you. It's just a tough luck scenario for you. So if you think you're owed money, it's best to address this now and get those tax returns filed. The second one is collection statute dates. If you are going to owe, the IRS has what we call a CSAT, a collection statute expiration date, that is 10 years from the time the tax becomes due or the tax return is filed. So if the IRS files a return for you, one of those substitutes that I've mentioned a couple times, then that 10-year statute starts from the date that they filed the return to when they determine that you had tax owed. If they have not filed for you and you file and you're going to owe, that 10-year period doesn't start running until you've filed that tax return and the tax is due. So the sooner you get these taxes filed, the easier it is to start addressing what you owe and get on a payment plan with the IRS for these if you're not able to pay it in full. So we've covered making sure you open your mail, the wage and income transcripts, we've covered substitute returns so far, and now we've covered some statute expiration dates. The other thing that I want to tell you is you want to work with someone, if you're filing several years, that has experience in these scenarios. There are thousands of tax professionals out there nationwide. I know hundreds of them. Some of us love dealing with several years at a time, and I actually get referrals from others because they're like, I don't want to deal with delinquent taxes. I just want to do the current year and keep them on track moving forward. So you want to make sure that you're working with somebody that A, understands dealing with the IRS in these matters and the deadlines that you could be facing for these, along with the statutes and everything there. You also want to work with someone that is going to help you to best pull your records together and make sure that you have everything, especially if you're self-employed. Sometimes those records are really hard to recreate. And so this may be a matter of going to the bank and requesting bank statements, and going to your credit card companies and requesting credit card statements, and going back and doing restorative bookkeeping to get all of this caught up. So it's really important to make sure that you're working with somebody that understands the situation of dealing with several tax years at a time and dealing with deadlines, especially if the IRS has filed for you. Getting that return filed can stop the collection process on that year. So if you're facing collections for a return the IRS has filed for you and you don't think you're gonna owe, the quicker you can get that return filed and submitted to the IRS, the quicker you can protect yourself from any aggressive collection action that they may ensue there. So those are my tips today on what to do if you haven't filed a tax return. Again, the biggest thing to do is just take the first step and contact us so we can help walk you through that process. It's really simple once we get it going. I love taking that stress off of your shoulders if you're dealing with that situation, and allowing me to take that over and just tell you exactly what I need so that you can focus on your day-to-day life. Again, my name's Amanda Kendall. I am with True Resolve Tax. If you're dealing with several years of unfiled tax returns, I welcome you to give my office a call at 720-319-8954. Ask to speak to me. If I'm not available, schedule a time to talk to me or talk with one of my team members. Any of us here can help you through that situation and figure out what your next step would need to be for that. So I hope you have a great day. Again, this has been Tax Tip Tuesday from True Resolve Tax.